But if you look at the greatest billionaires, I've coached many billionaires over the past 20 years. If you look at the greatest producers on the planet, these people have one thing in common. They are ridiculously curious. And no matter how much money they make and no matter how much impact they have, they maintain a white belt mentality. One of the keys to epic performance is a relentless commitment to daily growth. So that's the 20-20-20 formula that the 5 a.m. method is built around. And the premise is basically this: as you begin your day, so you handcraft the rest of your day. And if you have consistently great days, you're going to have consistently great weeks, quarters, year, and a lifetime. So your days are your life in miniature, and you got to get those mornings calibrated if you really want to. Tom, I actually believe we are built to want. The very nature of being a human being is we are built to progress. We know that the human brain craves novelty. And we are most alive, we have the most energy, we are most intimate with our best selves when we're progressing towards our mighty mission. So I think we all want. I think what's happened on the planet right now is there's been a great seduction and a great brainwashing. When we are kids, we want. We want to be astronauts. We want to be billionaires. We want to be history makers. We want to do all our dreams. And then we stand in awe and wonder. And we're full of curiosity. And we're loving. And we're passionate. And we're strong. We're not afraid to be ourselves. But as we leave the perfection of childhood, the hypnosis and the brainwashing begins. Our well-intentioned parents say, oh, you want to be an astronaut? You want to start a business when you grow up? You want to paint like Jean-Michel Basquiat? Be reasonable. And George Bernard Shaw said it better than I ever could. He said, the reasonable man adapts himself to the world. The unreasonable one persists in adapting the world to himself. Therefore, all progress depends on the unreasonable man. So that's our nature, but our parents give us limitation based on their limited psychology and their emotional patterns that they learned from their parents. Then we go to school and we're taught to live in a box, think in a box, dress like everyone else. Don't sing too loudly, don't dream too big, don't be too passionate. And then our peers do the same thing to us. And then society says, oh, genius is the realm of genetics, not everyday people, which has been dismissed by some very good science. Soul Set is about working on your character so you re-access your nobility and your bravery and your authenticity and your decency, and you find a cause that's larger than your life. So when you go out in the world every single morning, people might ridicule you because every genius is ridiculed before they're revered. People might throw stones at you, but you use them to build monuments of mastery. People might not understand you, because any disruptor is going to be misunderstood. And even if you're an army of one, a Galileo or a Steve Jobs or a Phil Knight, you continue at all costs to lead and to become a great hero or an everyday hero. The doorway is through embracing our suffering and doing difficult things. I think pleasure has been promoted too much in our society. Like no great titan of industry, no legendary cellist, no great athlete. You know, the great ones all understand that suffering is the price of greatness. So how do we become braver? You do the difficult things that you don't feel like doing, but you know have the payoff. And so how do you move through pain? You journal. If you're going through heartbreak, I mean, we've all experienced heartbreak. What we do is often we repress it because we're not given the tools to process through it. You lose a business, people repress it. Someone has a divorce or an illness. Oh, mindset, reframe it, psychology. You're swallowing pain, you're swallowing sadness, you're swallowing anger. We're built to feel, right? So writing in a journal, just getting it out. There's actually something in the 5M Club called the journaling deconstruction, because it's not just processing through pain, but to answer your question, that trauma of heart set, you write in a journal, you get it out of your system. Guess what? You don't bring passive aggressive into the workplace. You don't bring sadness or low vibe into the workplace. You're full of your true self in terms of your heart set, which is gratitude, love, appreciation. You know what that does for a business. You know what that does for a human life. So if you're going through a painful time, write that out. Almost every day I write gratitude, but I love great restaurants. And so I'll take the business card, and the next morning I pull out my little glue stick and I glue the business card into my journal, and I relive the experience. Oh, I had dinner with so-and-so. Here's what I learned. I deconstruct it. With better awareness, we'll make better choices. Better daily choices, better daily results. Imagine journaling like this every single day. You're going to have such acute awareness about when you're at your best, what the great ones do, how to live a life, what you want to stand for, what your core values are. You walk out in the world and you're just radiating possibility in a world where people are addicted to distraction and numbed out. Yeah, the brain tattoo in the book is an addiction to distraction is the death of your creative production. People's phones are costing them their fortune. So you can play with your phone, or you can be monomaniacally focused on being a history maker and legendary. You don't get to do both. And so building periods of time in that tight bubble of total focus where you leave your phone in another room, where you train your team, or if you don't have a team, you just don't have any distractions. And you ask yourself, what is the one thing I could do that would allow me to go out in the world and bring my magic to the world? The human brain has a phenomenon called transient hypofrontality. The neocortex, as you know, it's the seat of thinking. It's our monkey mind. It's all the chattering. It's the stuff that says, Tom, you can't do it. Robin, you can't do it. What would they think? What if I fail? What if I get laughed at? That's all the neocortex. It's the crown jewel of brain development. Not our primitive brain, crown jewel. But there's no genius in there. Now here's what I mean. When we get away from distraction and we find our Menlo Park, or we go work in a quiet place and we get lost, the neocortex actually shuts down, and that's why it's called transient hypofrontality. For a short period of time, our thinking shuts down. The whole model is in the book. And we actually go from brain waves at beta, down to alpha, down to theta, and maybe even delta. And we stop thinking and we go into flow. In other words, the advanced minds of the world, the great geniuses, Galileo, Da Vinci, Steve Jobs, they weren't in the neocortex. They got away from the world for bursts of time, which allowed them to access the human capability we all have to get into flow state and access insights that they went out in the world and then executed on with a world-class team, which totally changed the game. You know, be crazy. The great leaders are insane. And I say that they're insane to the majority. The great ones are all misfits, and they're all weird. I mean, the very nature of being a disruptor and a leader means you're not a follower. And if you're not a follower, then you're not buying the Kool-Aid that society sells you. If you're not a follower, you're not like this all the time looking for likes. If you're not a follower, you dress the way you want to dress. If people criticize you, yeah, they criticize all the great ones. Critics are nothing more than dreamers who got scared and never got off their chairs and got back in the game. So you've got to be willing to 5 a.m. Weird. Who does that? Why not sleep? Leaders have to be willing not to be followers.